isn't that funny that rhythm is what makes it sexy? Like if
Right.
if it was not good, you'd be like, oh, this is just a Voldemort. This is just a Voldemort show. This is a Harry Potter themed thing.
Right.
But because it's like because it's that, because there's rhythm, that's what makes it sexy.
Yeah, it's crazy what people determine. Like that's where the sex is. That's the line that it.
I think it's because everyone's getting a little bit of blood in their genitals. That's why people are upset. People are afraid of their own feelings. That's
swelling, and that's not my fault.
Have you ever had a dream that you had to do so much you could do anything?
Thank you so much for being here. What would you like me to say about you as an intro?
I'm really great.
Okay, yeah. So Brandon Rogers is.
You make funny things. I don't know.
No, that is true. That is true. But it's not even that. It's not even just like you make funny things. You're not even giving yourself credit, Brandon Rogers. You make things that I get done watching and I'm like, I don't know what art is, because he does. And I don't, and I thought I did. I thought I belonged in a space, and then I watch a video of yours, and I'm like, oh, I had no idea you could do that, or that a character could say this. And you're always climbing and pushing the boundaries and horizons of what content is. It's really impressive. I mean this.
Holy shit.
Yeah, this sounds like I'm saying something that I don't mean, but I actually mean it. I mean all of these things.
No, I thank you. I wish you could tell my mom that. She's more of a fan of you than me. I think she watches more of your stuff than my stuff, and so I that means a lot coming from you. I mean, we play in very similar playgrounds, and it's at the end of the day, what we do is we take the world around us and we put it through a lens that's been, calcified over the years with our experiences. And we just sort of, this is the world as I see it, but also hopefully as you can kind of relate to. I mean, I think a lot of what we do, we comment on just social situations. I mean, a lot of comedians do, but I don't know. I love the more absurd versions of reality. I like warping it through a lens that is just so ridiculous that people really struggle to take it seriously sometimes.
Isaac, can you look up calcified, please? I have no idea what Brandon's talking about.
The build, like on your sink under the faucet, when you get all that white build up, that's like, those are our experiences, and the water that passes through all that white dried cum is our version of what we perceive.
I get it. He was saving me from saying white dried cum, and he said calcified. That's Oxford, right? White dried cum? Is that what it says over there? Yeah.
I did go to Oxford.
I want to talk to you about you a lot because I'm very interested in your process, and you're an early riser, not a sexual thing, but you're someone who you spend a lot of your day in the early day. I know I've asked you about this before, but what is your creative process for writing? I mean, you produce your whole thing, and so you're so involved. And I want to know, like, how does it from start to finish? Like, what does your whole process look like?
Well, from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. is a very sacred time for me. It's a combination of waking up, stretching, running, smoking weed, drinking coffee, and writing. and I don't really.
So you have downers and uppers. You do a full arc.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, you only live once. And people say you have a finite amount of energy from the time you're born to the time you die. That is not true. I think you can get greedy and find ways to. And I do little tiny naps here and there. We all kill time. You might as well kill it sleeping, so you can really be awake when you're on stage when you have to be.
Yeah.
I don't. Time management is never easy when you're doing something different every week. There's no like set rhythm to it.
Yeah. Do you like that? Do you like that it's different all the time? Because I love routine.
Yeah, I think it can help fight against Alzheimer's because your brain is constantly having to memorize new things and not get set in a groove. You're kind of always having to problem solve new things every week. Wow. And so. And Alzheimer's runs in my family.
Oh, I see.
Big time. Yeah.
Really?
So
okay. Yeah. I wondered if there was a personal connection to it. I was like, that seems very specific.
Yeah. So I've spent a lot of, especially the last few years, just like a lot of time looking up ways to prevent Alzheimer's or ways to like slow down the effects. And I read like if you have a job, like an office job, to go home a different route as many times as you can, or just to find ways to mix up your routine quite a bit. So in the morning, I try and not have a set rhythm or set order of way I do things. I do all the same things, but a different order, and also like it's a different video, it's a different story I'm writing or set I'm trying to book or actors I'm casting. So
Well, the good news is if or when you ever get Alzheimer's, we will have no idea. We'll have
neither will I.
We'll have no idea that you made that transition. You'll be like, there's just Brandon. He's shooting something.
Yeah.
The cameras are just further away, and we can't see them. But I imagine he's in a character.
I imagine I will be in some form or another. I just hope it's a happy one. Most people I know who have passed away with Alzheimer's passed away with this kind of like, like that kind of mentality. So I kind of want to be there when I go. I hope I'm playing a good one when I go.
I think that's cool that you're very aware of something like that, something that runs in your family, and I think just in general that all the stuff you listed is great for brain health. You're creating different pathways and neurons that you want to have access to, and so your brain doesn't become complacent. And you're always just kind of like even like I talked about stretching the limits of what the standard is.
Mm-hmm.
So you wake up. So the first thing in the morning, you wake up and you do what?
I try to work out. Working out is the one I like the least out of all of them. But
Really?
I can't move on to the rest of the day without the workout having happened. Otherwise,
Sure.
I just feel stagnant. So I try to get the workout out of the way. But then, of course, I try and get the weed out of the way before I do the workout. But then I try and get the coffee out of the way before I do the workout, and the weed to enjoy with the coffee. Maybe there is an order of things. I prefer to do them. But they all happened today, so I'm on a roll today so far.
You're just maintaining your ups and downs.
Yeah.
Like you're just it really is like the set where you're just like right in here.
A lot of the best dishes have savory and sweet.
Yeah.
I think a culmination of ups and downs create a very vivacious headspace overall. You're not really focusing on like the roller. You're just kind of like, oh, all these flavors happening right now, and then I have to say you're in very good shape. I think I'm in decent shape.
I think you are
I
too.
think we have maintained we've known each other for many years.
Yeah.
We have stayed in great shape. Why do we? I mean, we're comedians. We don't have to do this.
I don't know. I have no idea. I think it was Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart came around and was like, "I'm in the gym with The Rock," and we're like, "But we just like." But like, what about like?
What funny?
What about like getting drunk and just eating away stuff? Like,
Yeah. Oh God. And also, I rarely tour. I have a lot of questions for you. I know this is,
Okay.
but I have a lot because I just came back from the longest tour I had ever done, and I'm exhausted in an unholy way that I've never quite ever been. How do you? I mean, and also it's hard to eat healthy after a show because you're feeling carnivorous. You're just like you get back to that hotel room and you just God help whatever is in your path because it's like I've never been hungrier in my life than after a show.
I agree. I for a stretch of time I was just chewing Prilosec because my heartburn was so bad. I was 23 with heartburn because you would get done with shows and then you'd be like, all right, I need a drink.
Yeah.
And you would go for something wheat. Like I would have like a beer, or even if you had like a hard spirit, it would be like it's alcohol in general. It's just not good for that. Yeah. And then when you get the alcohol, you're like, you're like, all right, well let's keep things going with getting some food or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's a logical thing because when you're on stage, I think you're in high state of stress.
Yes.
And even though you're enjoying it, your body's in a high state of stress.
It's almost like a workout in itself, just being on stage because everything's functioning at a higher level.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think that's why. So I don't know what it is, but I've gotten much better at not eating after shows. Like I do intermittent fasting, and so my day kind of. I kind of stop eating right around like just before shows happen. And what sucks is you get a lot of energy from food, and so I oftentimes will end up feeling like shit after shows because I've removed that as an option because I don't want to cake on extra weight just before I go to bed.
Just because
exactly. Like I used to be just a little bit heavier in my earlier 20s, and it's funny. It's almost had this reverse effect on the way that I feel about my shows I'll feel tired and bad and not energized, and I'll feel like and it's like, no, you probably just don't have energy, so you need food. And that creeps up into my mental well-being, where I'm just like, well, I'm just not enjoying comedy, or I'm just not enjoying the show. So it has it almost reverses its way into a negative impact that probably could be born from just something that would be natural, which would be, getting some food after you do like a long workout, like a show.
Right.
But there's nothing natural about what we do. There's nothing natural. The time that it happens, like it fucks with it. Like the performing at night messes with everything. It messes with you're not supposed, like, we're supposed to. There's a reason that that people wake up and they're at work at 9, and then they shut off at 5, and then they can relax. And that really is as routine and cyclical as that is. I think that is something that's like super healthy. People are able to manage what they can expect, and there's some sort of relief in the known. That's why I think like people end up binging shows that they've seen before. It's because you know what's going to happen next. And so I've talked to you about this. Like, what I love about your process is it doesn't have a routine, and you are someone who you're like, I can release this whenever I want to release this. You're not someone who like you don't abide by the rules of the algorithm has to be this or what, like, you've just
God,
I mean, and it's hard. I mean, I've talked to you about it before, but it's just it's this thing that like it really can eat away at your own. Why even we started to do this in the first place which was to like feel creative and feel like we can be ourselves and highlight a form of artistry that doesn't belong in the confines of a prism. So it's like, I don't know. I don't even know if there's a question there. I just know you and I we've related so much on talking about this in the past.
Yeah, there are very few people that I know personally. Besides
there,
you,
just stop.
And I'm gonna be like that for the rest of my life. I don't want to get to know anyone. No, like I don't know anyone else really who does very. You are a very similar entertainer to me in the sense that you do a lot of live performing, you do a lot of stand up, but you also are an internet comedian as well. You're at the whim of the algorithm as well, and. The older we get, the more I'm seeing like the algorithm. I don't care what religion anyone is. That's God at the end of the day. The algorithm is who you try to please. The algorithm is what favors you if you are good to it, right? And quite frankly, just like God, there's really no point in studying the algorithm because the algorithm, it changes every fucking year. There used to be, remember a few years ago, like 5 or 6 years ago, there used to be all kinds of classes on even YouTube themselves at their fucking space would say, oh yeah, come and take a work. We'll teach you how to, what's best for the algorithm, what we're looking for. And then after a while, it's just every year it's different. Now they're pushing shorts. Now they're pushing, so
and that's why.
It's every year it feels like a different set of rules, or at least suggestions that you have to abide by for the algorithm to favor you most. And so one thing that I've learned is that as long as the integrity of the work is there, as long as you're making stuff that you're proud of, and you're going to be proud of in the future, like those videos. I mean, I've had videos blow up 10 years after they're on the internet. So I think, as opposed to being fearful of the algorithm and letting that fear translate into your work where you're pumping shit out constantly, it's not good shit, but now you're sitting on a resume of garbage. And I think that if you're sitting on stuff that's good and no one's looking at it, well, one day when people do, they have a whole wonderful rabbit hole to fall down, as opposed to so not trashing people who do. I am a big fan of the rise and grind mentality, and I am a huge admirer of people who do get up and put out content every day, regardless of if it's good or not. That takes work. So it is a weird middle zone to sort of straddle, because you want to make good stuff. And I really do feel like at the end of the day, people do find the really good stuff, or at least someone eventually will and making stuff enough for the algorithm to keep you in the spotlight. The algorithm likes consistency, but creativity does not come at a consistent pattern. Saturday Night Live is living proof. Like, you just cannot crank out good You can't do bangers every week.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's why I think You Should Leave is so good. Because that wasn't a weekly, that they had time to culminate that. And I don't know how Netflix works, but I'm assuming the deadlines are a little bit more flexible than TV.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that if you just take a little bit more time, it's hard. It's really hard to be an internet comedian and to take your time with the process and pay your bills. It's
I've done both. I've done both where I vacillated between like where I kind of hang a little bit off of the building on the left side, and then I go all the way over to the other side where I've been super conservative as far as no, I'll put something out whenever I feel like that is what is resonating with me at that time. Yeah. So much so where I held off because I was like, it's not ready. And then I've done the other thing where you're just spraying paint. You're spraying just poop against a wall where it's like, it's not, you can just feel it. You're just like, this is just for the sake of just doing it. And that is just not a good feeling. And you kind of want to, there is like this teetering act of like these things that are stacking on, like plates stacking on a bar on either side that you're holding. You kind of want to keep that foundation consistent. And like you said, like, something of quality or something that matters to you, because I think that's like when you have proof and an example like, oh, a video that was made 10 years ago blew up, I mean, like that's what's something that's so special about your career is like you were doing videos for I think for over 10 years before you had something pop off.
You have a really good memory.
Well,
I mean, 10 years was about the breaking point for me, and it's like that drawing, I'm sure you've seen it, where the guy's digging a tunnel and he gives up right before he hits a gem. It's like that's how it felt. It was, there were so many opportunities I had to get off the freeway. A lot of jobs that needed my full time. And I had a job luckily that supported making YouTube videos on the side. I had enough time to make videos still and then work this other life where I had to pay bills. And so it's really tough, but I don't know. I'm surprised that we've been able to juggle it successfully this long. We are still surviving however many years later.
Is YouTube your only? Is that your main? That's your main platform?
It is.
That's your main platform. And then do you? I know you're on Instagram as well, but do you categorize different? Like, do you do different things for different platforms? What are the platforms that you're on?
Yeah, TikTok has been actually really amazingly lucrative. Like it has whatever their algorithm is, it has to be illegal because it's like steroids. Seriously, I have never seen content of mine blow up the way it does on TikTok. Yeah, and so I try to really reserve TikTok for only the banger verticals, because now I tell my assistant, we always say, is this a hamburger or hot dog video? Because the hamburger videos are the longer form 2-3 minute videos. Wow. Hot dogs, what we call it, they're those little verticals that are just gonna be something that's 15 seconds.
I want to start saying hamburger and hot dog.
Yeah. So when we do, we
beyond patties or
beyond. I mean, it depends. I'm doing keto, so I don't do the pad. The pad. You're talking about the
I'm talking about the
Yeah, I for the longest time I was eating at fucking Veggie Grill and I didn't know it was vegan. I would get the chicken sandwich all the time and I love it. Yeah. I still do, but I thought I was eating chicken.
Yeah, and they do really good. I've been up to some places where I had to go back to the counter and I was like, everything here is vegan. They're like, everything here is vegan. I was like, everything here is vegan. I was for 2 years.
I was gonna say I wasn't sure if you still were. What was the first non? I'm sure you get asked that a lot, but what was it? The first non-vegan thing you broke with?
When I came back.
Yeah,
I don't remember. It was light. It was fish or chicken I came back, because you don't want to go head first into a burger when your system hasn't had meat in 2.5 years, 2.5 years or some shit.
Holy shit! And I just put down 2.5 steaks yesterday.
Did you really?
I did.
Wait, so you're not vegan? No, you are vegan.
No, I'm keto, which is kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
I just love steak and shrimp.
Keto is also really good for Alzheimer's.
I know. I'm doing everything I can.
Yeah.
Keto was great for me.
Do you think it's imminent? You're so young.
I do think it's... Well, the thing is, it's just like, I don't have very many people in my family who have died, but the ones who have had Alzheimer's. And so I'm like, in my frame of reference is like, that's the main thing I need to be battling. Thing is, I'm not even that scared to have it because you don't know when you do.
Yeah.
I will say constantly, I'm like checking okay, I'm at Drew's place. I'm on this show and I'm this old and because
You're just slapping things.
They'll just because old people don't do crazy shit like that. No, my grandparents would always just be like, oh, I'm 20 something years old. They're back into at any point their channels switching through the timeline of their life. So I'm constantly like, no, I'm still this age. Okay, good.
Wow.
And so it's weird.
But you've always been an old soul anyway.
I feel like I have, and a lot of my characters are much older than me, so I feel like I'm aging into a lot of the ones I'll play better in the future.
Yeah, you just did this for yourself. Yeah.
I did. Quite frankly, I can't wait to have it because then I won't have to. I don't know. Once I get to the point where I can't wipe my own ass, that'll be nice. I wake up, I'm like, oh, that's right. I don't have to wipe.
Well, financially, if you wanted to, you could do that right now.
I could.
You could pay somebody to do that.
You know?
Or intern. You don't have to pay.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, we should have interns wiping our ass. There's got to be somewhere in this country, someone has to have had their ass wiped today by someone who able-bodied must have had just for the sheer sport of it.
I don't know. Someone told me that someone told me Jeff Bezos doesn't tip, and so he strikes me as the kind of person who
Jeff Bezos doesn't tip.
He doesn't tip.
Yeah, because he looks like one.
Whoa!
My God, what doesn't tip? And he's American. Is he American?
I don't know. I think so. Is Jeff Bezos American, Isaac?
I used to have a French boyfriend, and he hated that we tip. He was like, "We don't have to do this." Well, they pay their waiters. They pay them fairly over there.
Yeah,
we pay our waiters.
That's why. I still tip waiters in France.
I think it's a nice little ending to the night. You built all this rapport, and then you get the last laugh. Like, here's 50 cents.
Yeah. Yeah, you give 50 cents to a Frenchman. If you give us 50 cents to a French waiter in France, they like, oh.
they put it in your next meal when you come back. They'll probably. Oh my God, damn. What were we talking about right before France? France is getting too much screen time.
Yeah, it was.
Jeff Bezos is from Albuquerque.
He would be.
New Mexico. He would be.
I don't even know what that says, but are they cool out there in Albuquerque? I don't know.
I want to talk to you about, because we were talking about tour. You just came back from Florida, and I wanted to talk.
Yeah.
I saw your Instagram, and what happened? What happened?
Holy
out
shit!
There? Yeah.
Yeah. I needed to post about this because I felt like I was in a pretty unique situation for a topic that was pretty hot right now. You can't, drag is an art form that is restricted to people 18 and under in states like Florida. And here I am touring. This is, I've done 5 or 6 of these tours as different characters. Florida has been a stop on just about every one of these tours. I've had a great time. Every time I go to Florida, it's, no problem. And this time, a lot of the venues were uncomfortable of having me because I'm playing a female character on this tour, and a lot of, depending on who you are, that's considered drag. I think every character I do is considered drag. I am exiting my reality to enter a heightened reality of someone else as an art form to show to my fans. It's all drag, every character I do. And quite frankly, this tour isn't even as bad as the last ones. I've had in the tour I did before this one, I played Grandpa who slept walk onto the stage in a fucking robe. And his dick falls out. A realistic penis that falls, and that's all. Hey, bring your kids. And I just want to clarify.
Yeah,
kids should not be watching my stuff. My argument. A lot of people in the comments were like, "Oh, well, yeah, come on, Brandon. Kids shouldn't be watching your stuff. You crybaby." I don't want kids to watch my stuff.
Yeah.
The fact
they just do.
They just do. Hey, I can't. No, but the fact is they drew the line at her being female. Like, it's, and also like 16, 17 years. I was watching people's heads come off at that age, all right? Yeah. And they are too. I am not. It's because Bryce is female that's where they drew the line, and so that's where I was just baffled at that, and I'm like, this can't be real. Like,
what did they do? So what did they do? What happened?
So apparently, I thought it was announced as an 18, or that they sent emails when this was passed, but people were showing up not knowing this, getting turned away at the door, getting turned away. People in cosplays, people who made art, people who. Or they were told like a day before. Some people didn't know until they got to the club, though, and so I was, I just felt so bad that someone would, because these are, when you go to a show like this is something that people spend months planning for this to meet someone that they watch on the internet, and to just show up and just say, sorry, you can't come in, like, because he's playing a female, not because the show's inappropriate, but because it's a guy in a skirt. I wanted,
Yeah, you had an old guy's dick fall out just a few years ago, and that was fine.
and that, hey, everyone's laughing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know how to
So
respond.
people were turned away from your show.
Yeah.
Who were under 18.
Right. What I wanted to do, and I almost did this, but I felt like it just wouldn't make for a great show. But I wanted to just walk out as myself with my makeup kit and my costume and tell everyone I'm going to slowly get in character on stage, and I want you all to stop me when it's drag.
That's so funny.
Because where are we drawing the line? Like, just, technically what I'm wearing is look at this fucking ridiculous outfit, but I'm on camera. It's a drag, and so I don't know. I think that it's just a very petulant reason to prohibit someone from expressing themselves, not because of the quality of the content or the content at all, but simply because you're wearing a skirt.
Yeah, and it's just Florida trying to flex something that it's like it's the equivalent of when someone comes back with an argument that is not relevant to the argument you were having, and they're like, well, you lost my grill or some shit, like, you know what I mean? It's like it's not pertinent to it, whatever, and it kind of feels like that's the state that Florida is in right now, not the state itself. I just mean the state of being of Florida is like, well, we're passing this just cause we need to maintain some shred of power or control or jurisdiction.
Well, I think the people that are for it don't understand how broad of a term the word drag is. I think there was a lot of people in the comments that was actually kind of scary, because they're like, well, this is about the kids. This is about the kids. We don't want kids going to a show with someone teaching them how to use a dildo. That's drag to them. Like someone trying to teach them how to use it.
Yeah.
It's a cross-dress sex on stage, teach them what bondage is. And so it's like, okay, I don't know what drag shows you've been to, but Bryce is a conservative woman talking. That's what I do. I talk about Ron DeSantis, how long I had to suck his dick just to get that drag ban passed. All worst 15 seconds of her life. There was a lot of fun that we had with the fact that this is such a ridiculous law. We had to cancel our Nashville show. There was like there was a drag venue nearby within an hour that got threatened by a group of neo-Nazis, and and granted, there are drag shows that happen in Nashville all the time, but I felt weird. I don't know Nashville at all, and especially right now, I don't know what it's like out there. And my assistant travels with me, and he's part of the show, so I felt really uncomfortable just bringing my assistant with me on stage to a show, any show that I felt uncomfortable going to. Florida, we had basically airport security at the front, so that was very comforting.
Yeah.
I didn't go into my dressing, or I didn't let doors open until I saw a fucking wand.
Yeah.
And but beyond that, no, every crowd was amazing. We didn't run into anyone that was like scary or homophobic and at the end of the day, like, homophobic people should enjoy this fucking show. It has nothing to do with being gay. It's a conservative woman talking about her 50 steps to instant success, and that's it.
That's so funny.
And so, yeah.
I mean, the character is funny. Well, not the whole situation.
I mean, it's a funny law.
So neo-Nazis it got canceled because neo-Nazis threatened the venue?
Well, it got canceled. Eventually I had a long talk with everyone that set up the tour, and we kind of came to the conclusion that it is best to just cancel Nashville. But it is because of like the threat to the other venue was the inciting, like, we were already kind of wishy-washy about going to Nashville, especially since, like, you see comments of like, keep that shit in California and stuff like that. And I will say, the comment section was scary. Like, even just reading the thing when I posted about Florida, reading what people were saying in there, like I was just saying, like, that's what's keeping the law passed. Like, I see the mindset, and I see also, like, as much as I hate to say it, I can see the thought process of the people that are for that ban. Like, I get where they're coming from. And I grew up around a lot of conservative people. Like, I get how they think. I'm not, like, baffled or offended by the way. I'm just, if they knew anything about this world or what they're making a decision about, then they would probably feel different. But, it's just something they heard from a friend at church, and they go, you know what, fuck that too. And it's just, so
I watched a drag video where it was Harry Potter. No, it was a Harry Potter themed drag video where Voldemort is like, it's like a sexy Voldemort, but not like it wasn't even like sexy. It was just like Voldemort's like dancing and somewhat stripping from a cloak, but it was like the sexiest I've seen Voldemort for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Voldemort is never not sexy.
I said Voldemort so many times. I realized that, but
Was it an even or odd number? Because you could cancel it out.
oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't remember, but
Quite frankly, I want to summon him. But I saw the
got
last
questions.
movie. I know it can't happen. Yeah, what's it? Voldemort drag. How did we?
well, I was just talking about how like you're just talking about how there's nothing that like it doesn't have to be sexual in nature. It was and when I say like a sexy dance, I just mean like it's Voldemort being like it's just timing. Isn't that funny that rhythm is what makes it sexy? Like if it was not good, you'd be like, oh, this is just a Voldemort. This is just a Voldemort show. This is a Harry Potter themed thing.
Right.
But because it's because it's because there's rhythm, that's what makes it sexy.
Yeah, it's crazy what people determine. Like that's where the sex is. That's the line that it.
I think it's because everyone's getting a little bit of blood in their genitals. That's why people are upset. People are afraid of their own feelings.
That's swelling, and that's not my fault. Yeah,
we need a law that stops right.
Oh my god! I have a few friends who are professional wrestlers, and it is. I have to say that if that isn't drag,
Yeah.
I mean, and you want to talk about blood rushing, that. And yeah, we can bring kids to see that. My friends who are wrestlers get to perform in front of a million children, seeing them get smashed under a table or hit with the chair.
Yeah.
But I walk out with the skirt, and suddenly, people have to go to see Jesus.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think drag comes in every single form. If you're going to see someone on stage, they're not doing a fucking TED talk, being themselves. They're doing something heightened, even a little bit. Then that's that's to me drag. Like
Yeah.
you've encompassed it.
Well, I'm sorry that you had to experience that, and I'm sorry that I'm sure you were even just apologizing on behalf of the situation to the people who wanted to see you in Florida.
Oh yeah, and I had to say something because it just whether or not like the law is stupid, and I didn't want to make the post political, but I wanted people to know that I did feel bad that they couldn't make it into the show.
Sure.
But also I was in a very unique situation. I'm not like what people consider a traditional drag queen, but I'm an adjacent art form that it is affecting.
Yeah.
And so it the ban isn't just for, what people consider drag, but I mean we had full houses, and it was a wonderful time, and we had everyone was I had the highlight of the tour was the shows themselves, and the meet and greets with the fans afterward. I'm getting to a point now in my career where, and I'm sure you are too, where people aren't saying I love your videos, I watch you all the time. Rather, I'm getting a lot of people say I grew up with you, or you got me through this time, or this and There is a deeper connection I'm noticing with the meet and greets, because people are approaching me with a bit more of a familiarity rather than like, oh, you're the guy from the internet.
Yeah.
You're the guy that I've been watching for this long.
Yeah.
And that's a really special thing, because it's like there's one thing for people to know who you are on the internet, another thing to be like part of their life.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool that as comedians we get to be integrated into people's lives. I mean, they quote us. I quote comedians all the time, and to be part of that, is really cool. So yeah, that was my favorite part of the tour. The more conservative parts of the country were scarier, but I mean, I think even deep down they liked her. I mean,
you gotta get
Mrs. Doubtfire was a hit globally, right?
Yeah. I think the thing that's I thought I've had someone say, I watched you when I was 10, and they're old enough to go to the show now or whatever. And they're like, I watched you when I was 10, and you're just like, Jesus, like,
yeah.
That's the time is like that's a weird one. That one I have a tough time being like, man, that's a crazy long time to be doing something.
It's just gonna get longer and longer. I mean, I think time speeds up the older we get, especially in this business, because when you first become a public figure, everything's new and exciting. Your first interview, your first show, your first whatever, it's all very you measure time much slower because everything's such a milestone. But then you do this a year, 2 years, 4, 5, 10 years, things start to blur together.
Yeah, a
And-
lot. And my memory too has also just gotten so bad. Like it's just gotten so bad. I think like just faces, names, like details. It's all just it's exactly that. It's a blur. It's everything is just I'm not able to compartmentalize in my brain anymore. Where I'm able to say like, oh, I can draw on this information, or this is coming to me more quickly. And it's hard because you put all that work on yourself, and it's born from a good thing, but it really can blur together. Now, when you are what I have on this podcast is I always want to know of a time that you bet on yourself or you doubled down on yourself and it paid off or it backfired. Now, it could be something that's career related, it could be something that's personal, but something I want to know if your personal connection to something where you were like, I took a chance on me and here's something where it really went wrong, or it really went right and you struck gold with it.
Right around the time I think we met, I was doing a show called Magic Funhouse.
Yeah, so
and
good.
And that
It scared the shit out of me, those trailers.
Yeah, that was the first time I had a show. Like someone gave me a budget. It was a TV-sized budget, and they said, "Here's two." They gave me a pilot. They liked the pilot. They gave me a season, and then we sold the show, and then they gave me a second season, and it literally, it was my dreams coming true. It sounds like it's every filmmaker's dream. Oh, and no creative stipulations. This is right when the age of streaming was starting to take off. So like Roku, full screen, all these platforms were like wanted original content, and they needed to be cheap, meaning they wanted someone who A, had an internet following, and B, knew how to make something cheaply. And here I am. I edit my own videos. I write them. I direct. I do it all. So it wasn't long before the guy who I think he used to run CBS started Super Deluxe, and it was a small production company. He brought me in. He said, I want a show. Anyway, so we had the show, and it was so amazing. But by the end of the first season, it was just square peg, round hole. It was at the end of the day, it was a TV show that they assigned this fucking stupid YouTuber with zero TV experience to show run. Yeah. And it was like deadlines I was never in my life trained to meet. It was like, I remember when I handed in my script for the pilot, they sent it back to me and they were like, this isn't even formatted correctly. And I was like, oh, that's the relationship we had. And it was very because I, on one hand, I'm the face of this show, but on the other hand, I have like 4 or 5 executives above me who are just the classic, like you've seen them in every movie. Like, very like, no, you're going to do it like this and money. See, signed a contract. See, you're not big enough for us to lose sleepovers. And it was just friction. I mean, I had a really rough time. And I found myself. What a strange thing to say to someone. This isn't formatted correctly. This is like. Oh, I will never forget that. I didn't have a manager at that. I had no team. I had no one representing me, so I had no one to like go cry about it to. And they knew that. They knew that I was the last person they needed to talk to for any decision. And that really. And I will say they've apologized since then, and they've been very kind about it. Yeah. But. During production, it was extremely rough. I had a really hard time, and I was the face of it, so I had to be happy. I had to be at all the events. I had to be at all the shoots, of course. I had to be there during the entire post process. But it got to a point where they mandated office hours for me. I had to come in and clock in. Wow. And that killed my YouTube rise. My star was steeply going up on YouTube. Every video I made got like 500,000 more views than the last one I did, and everything was. And then I did Magic Funhouse, thinking that was the next step. Thinking that was my liaison to the TV world. Yeah. And really what it did was it just brought me away from YouTube for months and months, working on a season of a show that eventually is, as far as I know, lost media. Wow. So I do feel like I wasted 2 years of my life. I loved the project. I loved the show. And so, but like for what? It's not even around anymore. So it's like that really, and just behind, like I said, behind the scenes, I was extremely. The show mirrors where I was at the time. I was very. I played a host of a children's TV show, and in reality, I had friction with the producers. In the second season, the whole plot is him having friction with producers, and it was basically me trying to like voice to the production, like, this is what you're doing to the show, this is what you're doing to me, anyways, eventually Full Screen went under, and so did the show. But it was, I think, their #1 watched Thanks. So, anyways,
Yeah.
it feels like a win in the sense that I had a show on a platform that was the most viewed one, and it was, I think, the only show that Super Deluxe sold. I think they sold another one, but yeah, it was like one or two shows they sold. That was one of them. Anyway, so it is a win in that regard. In many aspects, it does feel like I wasted a couple of years, and that sucks. Yeah.
What do you think the lesson is that you take away from that?
Working in television isn't always, I have more fun, more views, and more money doing stuff on YouTube for my fans, direct to consumer. I don't have to run it by anyone. I don't have to show up to an office. I don't have to. It's just all pros and a lot of cons with TV. And with TV, people say, like, when are you going to get your own show on Netflix? When are you going to direct a movie? But it's like, it's not necessarily the end game. It's making content that is. I mean, what is a successful content? Like, is it something that's done very poorly and gets a lot of views or makes a lot of money? I mean, I like to have things that are extremely good quality, does get a lot of views and makes money in return. I mean, that's ideal, but I don't know. How did I even get on this topic?
I wanted to ask what was something that you where you bet on yourself and it either paid off or backfired. But
Magic Funhouse, it felt like I mean, part of it does feel like a big backfire because, like I said, I lost a lot of time doing it, but it gave me a lot of experience, and I made a lot of friends that I still work with today from that show. And you
got clarity. It seems like you got clarity from that project, and knowing what you know about the accessibility to the people that you have directly with your relationship with YouTube.
Yeah, and it also kind of it de-romanticized the throne at the top of like one day it's like I kind of got a taste of that, and I don't look at people who get their own TV show anymore as like, oh, must be nice. It's like, I know what part of me knows what they're going through. And it my friend Vivian, who she show runs the animated series I'm in called Helluva Boss, and she just had a show sell to A24, and we'll hang out and I'll hear her talk about just like the really cool things about working for a company like that and the really stressful things about it. And I totally understand how she feels. And it's kind of validating to hear her experiences, some good or bad, being similar to what I went through. Cause it's like, oh, like someone else is going through stuff. I'm not crazy for like having feelings of pressure when running like a huge show like this. Because I did feel, part of me felt like major imposter syndrome. Like maybe I don't deserve this if I'm buckling under the pressure. Or maybe I don't. But then I see other people who have their shows and everyone gets pressure like that. And it was very calming for me or reassuring to not feel so strange for feeling that way.
Do you still have imposter syndrome with a lot of the stuff you're making now?
No. There's so many people that, I mean, like, here's the thing. If you're not going to make it, regardless of if you deserve the views or deserve any kind of benefit that it makes, if you're not going to make it, someone shittier is going to make it.
Yeah.
Like there's no such thing as like, oh, well, I don't deserve this. No one really deserves it. I mean, most famous people I've met, it's like, oh, you're just like a dumb person. You know what I mean? Like no one's like a great being. Everyone's just kind of a dumb person. And so imposter, what even is imposter? Like
I'm right here.
How much? Who deserves? I don't know. I think, okay, you know what? I think you do deserve imposters, or anyone deserves imposter syndrome if they have a friend who's been working so hard at something their whole life, and then suddenly you get the opportunity without really working for it. Like those kind of situations are like, okay, you do. But I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I think as long as you believe in what you do and what you maintain your integrity, it's like, then that throne was made for you. You know?
Do you ever get to a place where you have a tough time making a decision on a project, where you might even end up directionless, or you feel like you're off your center, where you're like, that thing that speaks to you that's like, I can make my decision this way, I can do this, this is how I work. Have you ever, maybe I want to say, even besides Magic Funhouse, did you ever feel where you were off that mark, or where you were at a place where you're like, I don't even know where that next step is for this immediate project I'm working on?
Every project. Wow. And I can't stress that enough. Every single project, I have a thought in my head going, wow, this is shittier than anything I've made. That will eventually, at some point, hits me in anything I do, and it baffles me because it's like I've been waiting for years to feel like, yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I always end up falling in love with the final product. But there's always a point getting there where it's just like I've been doing this for over half my life now. It's like, wow, how am I fucking this bad at it still?
I feel the same way. Not about you. Sorry.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. What is? And I read somewhere a long time ago that Mr. Rogers felt that way late in the production of his show.
Yeah.
He said something like, "It's just as bad as it ever was," like
Wow.
off camera, and that was really inspiring to hear. I also I was at a taping of one of Sarah Silverman's shows that she had on Netflix a while back. Who I love, I adore her a lot.
Yeah, she's great.
I just remember there was a take that she did it like 3 or 4 times. There was a line that it wasn't a terribly complicated line, but there was something really inspiring off of her going like, "Sorry, I'm just having one of those." She like looked at the background actors and was like, I'm just having an off day. Like this, I just one of those days. And that even Sarah Silverman, like one of the greats, can just like have an off day.
Yeah.
So I think that it's really important that people know that even professional people who have done, and by professional I mean just people who only do that and have done it for years, like you fuck up all the time. That's why I don't trust skydive company people. Like I don't trust them. I'm like, you can fuck up at this, and let me.
Yeah.
How do I know you have one too? A parachute. Anyway, yeah, I'm like, for instance, you know, it is easy though. If you make something good, it is easy to look back on it and remember only the good times. If you had a project that ended well and came out great, you know, it could be a special or a film or something. It is easy to forget how hard it was to make it.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and it's also like I almost see myself in the past as this thing I can't even touch. Like I just like, what's the time frame, Mel? How long does it take for me to look at something? It's like 2 or 3 years. I can look at something in 2 or 3 years, and sometimes like she showed. We were at a comedy club recently, and I was talking with somebody about like a joke about wine. It's about wine or something like that, and then I was like, oh, I used to do a joke about wine, and then I said, and then so Mel pulled it up, and I'm listening to like the writing of it, and I was like, I was so fucking good then. I was so good then. I could never do that now.
I get that all the fucking time. It hasn't started though until the last like 3 or 4 years. I've been having. I don't know. How old are you?
31.
31. Yeah, I think it's a 30s thing. I don't know. I did not feel. Most of my life, I would look back and think like, oh, that sucked. Like I'm glad I'm not making like garbage like that anymore. But like the last 3 or 4 years, I will look back on what I made the year before or a couple years before, and just think to myself, like what you just said, fuck, how do I ever top that?
Yeah.
And that's a shitty.
So do you think that the gap is getting closer? Do you think like it's like I'll be able to look at something like yesterday and be like, that was pretty good.
I think we're gonna get. I think as we get older, we're getting to a plateau point where we're just like, well, the past you is eventually gonna get better. You know, where I think it's got to be what it is, because you can, like, in my brain, what I'm trying to not listen to is like, well, you can only get so good. So maybe you're there, and maybe you've just been there for the last 5 years, and now you're just at that top level of goodness to where it's just everything you look back on is going to be equal to or greater, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe, but I don't know. In my head, though, there are so many other stories and characters I want to tell. A lot of the ones I've come out with this year were things I've been sitting on for 4 or 5 years. Wow. And so I'm not worried about burning out in terms of like ideas for stuff, but I will look back. Just this morning, someone tagged me in a clip from a video I shot in 2018, and I thought to myself, holy shit, I wish I could make something like that now. And I'm sure I could, but like it felt so far and unattainable. I'm like, I'm going to need like another actor, and I'm going to need like a script.
What's the thing that people most often recognize you as or from, and does it ever bother you? Does it ever give you a boost? How do you feel about all that?
Before it was YouTube or Vine, it would be like, oh, you're that guy from this video or that video, but now it is like mostly the cartoon that I'm in, Helluva Boss. For if anyone doesn't know it, it's something I've been doing for the last 2 or 3 years, and it's pretty much the majority of what I get recognized by now. So it's like the last 15, 16 years of work I've done in video making, is basically like the last 2 or 3 years, you know, worth of recognition that I've. I don't want to say that though, because I don't want to discredit myself or any viewers that have been with me over the years. But I mean, it's crazy. I go to like at my live shows, half the audience are people who watch that show.
Wow.
And I mean, there is a level of, you know, when someone gets on a show and that show blows up, they're going to be that person no matter what they did before that show. They're going to know, like Steve Carell being on like Anchorman. I remember it's like I didn't know who he was before that, but he's the guy from Anchorman.
Yeah.
So I don't have any like hard feelings about that. I think it's actually kind of cool. It's kind of a rite of passage to suddenly be known for a role out of nowhere. I think that's actually really exciting, and it's a character I'm really proud of.
What's the number one thing that people say to you after meeting you?
I can't believe you're real. But I imagine people say that to you too. We're internet figments.
Well, I remember when I first worked with you, because you're so soft spoken, and you're so like you're intelligent, and you're very like calculated in the things that you say, and you're just subdued doesn't give it the full credit or the full image that I'm trying to paint, but it's your characters are so big, and they're so like when we first worked together on set, at any moment I was like, he's gonna yell at someone, it's coming.
Was that the one where I was in the garbage? Yeah. Oh my god, that video was so much fun to make. That was a fun shoot.
It was a fun shoot, but that's because it's just you're so easy to write for, because you're just it's just like and I wrote something for you for my animated show a little bit after that, because it's so easy. It's like that to me, I'm even getting excited thinking about it, because to me that's what I get most excited about when I write. It's like if you think of this actor, it's like if you think of like Rob Riggle, and you're like, all right, how do I write a scene with Rob Riggle and Brandon Rogers? It's so easy. Like I could finish it in an hour. I could finish that scene. Like, you know what I mean? It's just so easy, and that muscle working within that voice, or working within this, it's one of my favorite parts of writing, and I think that's what the allure of even something like stand-up is. It's like, okay, well, how does this comedian attack this subject, or how does this comedian attack this subject? And it's almost like when you think about their version of how they would do it, it totally makes sense why people could write something for someone else.
That means a lot. That's a huge compliment, because I take like branding is a very it's very vital to a comedian, but I appreciate that you think my brand is distinct enough to write for like that.
and I don't mean it like, because branding also could be, it's weird, there's a double-edged sword to branding, where it's like, branding almost falls in line with pigeonholing too, and it's like I certainly don't mean that, even though there are many people in our industry who that is all they do. They literally just do one thing, and that's their thing, and I think that that's more of a reflection of the people who consume all of the stuff that we do. They, people are simple. They like they just like, oh, I just like that thing. I just want that thing. Yeah. And that, I think, sometimes is what rubs up against our creative plight in trying to be like, well, I want to stretch the boundaries of something else, or I want to do this, And I think that speaks to the way that you are too, and how multi-hyphenate that you are, is that you can do a number of different things. Did you ever get a lot of pushback from do you ever remember there was something where you like you're just getting a lot of pushback from it, and you're just like, no, but I believe in it, I'm gonna stick with it?
Oh, not really pushback, but my longer form things get less views, because I think it's more of a commitment for someone to sit down and watch a longer thing. They'll see a longer runtime and they go, I don't want to watch it, or I don't know what the reason is, honestly, but I'm a filmmaker at heart, and I love and even the series I'm working on right now, it's a longer one. And the lower views don't deter me from making it, because sometimes I'll come back and want to watch it, or if anyone ever does watch it in the future, I want something I feel good sitting down and looking at with them. So, I will still continue to make longer form series or films with a 3-act structure, and I care about the journey of a character, and I like having there's a beauty about a longer form video that gets the audience to sit down and be grounded by the time that the twist or the climax happens. They're exactly emotionally where you want them to be.
I don't know that I've ever watched anything you've done. I was like, I'm very grounded right now. I've been like, I'm stressed. Sure. I'm laughing. I'm nervous. I gotta call my parents. Like
You are grounded at the end. No, your mom's like, what? No, if you weren't grounded then, you are now. But like, it's cool, because you do get to, like, with the 2-minute video, that's something that like I try and anticipate. Oh, they're gonna watch me on the bus, or they're gonna watch me like showing me to some friends, or showing me in a very noisy area. But like with a 20-minute video, by the time the aha moment happens at the end, the audience is whether it's stressed or confused or elated.
Yeah.
They are exactly where you want them to be for that moment to happen at the end. It's just more of a way of like really getting them to come in, have a seat, sit down, and be in this world, whether it's whatever the mood, chaotic or zenful. I think that I don't know. I just love when people get immersed in something I'm making.
When I was younger, I went to I went to Blue Man Group. Have you ever seen Blue Man Group?
I've never seen it, but I love them.
So I went to Blue Man Group, and I went because my parents they came back from Blue Man Group, and they tried to explain the show to me, and they couldn't. They were just like, you just have to see it. They're like they drum, but then they do like cool slap. They do like slapstick or almost they do physical comedy. They got it's creative. It's lights.
Right.
It's and when I think about your videos, that's almost the same way I feel. It's like like that would be a tough way it would be a tough thing to describe to someone, and then maybe that's why so many people watch you. It's like, I can't explain, like, you just have to watch it, you know what I'm saying? Like, just watch this video, because it's there's so many different things. And I truly remember watching the first thing that I saw from you, and it's funny that you say you're a filmmaker, because it was the way it was shot that I was like, this is just, I've never seen anything like this. Like where you have, especially like a lot of your POV stuff. It feels like we're talking about porn now. A lot of your POV stuff. Well, actually, almost
breaking into the VR world here. Yeah.
But actually, almost. There are things where
it's a
sometimes
fine line. Yeah.
Your drag porn sort of shows.
Right. Yeah, my dildo performances.
So that's that. Like, I want to know, what is it that you like? What's your process for starting a character or starting a script? How early does it start? How soon is it? Like, is it like, all right, now this is up on its feet? Like, I want to get a sense of like what your process is with that.
A lot of my inspiration is trailers. I'm weirdly or TV promos especially. I love seeing condensed attention grabbing for like a larger art form, like a movie or an episode of something. Like I remember when The Office was on, they would like say next week on The Office, and it would just be like, why is Michael flying through the air right now?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I thought, what if there was a video or like a format of like content that was just like the trailer almost, but like that was the whole thing, was just a heightened, because the trailer is just showing you the most emotional or the most ludicrous parts of these things, and so I liked the condensed, like, keeping an audience engagement. If there was a trailer that had a storyline, it wasn't a trailer, but it just had that energy the whole time.
So smart.
And so a lot of the times I'll think of like, what's a funny image? Like trailers are very just image heavy, where they'll just show you just an image without context, an image without context. And so sometimes I'll think of something like, wouldn't it be hilarious, someone crashing into a dog, like, I don't know, a dog, a veterinarian's office, like through the window. I don't know. I'll just think of something.
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of reverse engineer that moment into finding it a cohesive 3-act structure or a storyline, or why does this moment exist in this sketch? Almost every video I do, I think of just one key element, or it could be part of the character, something that, I have, if I get access to, let's say, a bus, someone has a decommissioned bus, and I've been wanting to do a bus sketch for, well, I have this resource now. I have to reverse construct that into a video.
We talked about that, how sometimes it almost seems like you'll sometimes find the set piece and then write for that.
Yeah. It could be the set piece. It could be the actor. I could find like an actor that has a very unique quality to them. Whatever it is, and then I just kind of write backwards from that, and it. If you can write backwards well enough to where they don't realize that was the piece de resistance, that was like their centerpiece for the whole thing. Yeah. Then it seems like that's like a big. But how did they get one of those to be in this sketch?
Yeah, exactly.
So like one of my shows recently was in a church, and they had me get ready in a preschool classroom that was just under the church, because they didn't have any dressing rooms. Yeah. And that was the only place I can access the stage without seeing the audience. So I'm just down there. We did a hot dog video. Oh God, a hot dog vid in the preschool class. That does not sound right. But it was just like, now everyone's in the comment. How did he get access to this? It seems like oh yes, we had the money to write a preschool sketch and then rent this place out, kick out the kids, and film for 5 hours. No, it was so. I just bend everything down to around a really
Yeah.
unique thing that I'm in love with.
Yeah, it does feel. I love that. I love that you're so malleable to your environment to be able to be like, no, let my creativity be the thing that meets the environment rather than scouting a location. You know what I mean? Like that would be how I think most people, or even people who are in TV, that's how they go about it. They're like, well, how are we going to get that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, rather than it just being like, no, here's this gift. Why don't we detour to this and make this
Right.
our moment right now?
That's why there's a lot of bad shows or
Yeah.
movies. I used to love going to film festivals that were like there's different tiers of film festivals. There's like backyard 48-hour film festivals, and there's like Sundance, but then there's like these weird middle ones that are like they had a budget.
Yeah.
But then they wrote a story first and then made their little budget fit everything and it creates a very like Sharknado, Tommy Wiseau kind of a quality film when they're not willing to pivot and make elements match their script. And there's kind of a beauty in that too. I love films that are just terrible because they wrote a script and didn't have maybe they did have the budget to pull it off, but they just didn't know how to pull it off, or they would rewrite things. And so the stubbornness, I think, can be a big detriment to a lot of filmmakers. This not willing to change their script because they couldn't find 10 flamingos or something. I don't know.
This isn't formatted correctly.
Oh my God. That still haunts me to this day. This isn't formatted correctly.
Like, who cares? If my character says this and it's clear that this is what is required, and then that character says this, that's all you fucking need.
You know who won that argument? Not me, because I had to download fucking Final Draft, and I remember copying and pasting. You can't just copy and paste a script into Final Draft. You basically have to
rewrite it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will never get that time back. And it's eating into our interview as we speak. I mean, I hope those fuckers are listening to this. And I will never write a script not on napkins again.
Isaac, do we have a verses?
We do.
Yeah, hit me with a verses here. So something that we
Oh,
do.
yeah.
This is what we do is you're of comedic mind, and so I have. With comedians, we're always looking at different words that we can be like, all right, what's the funnier version of this word? And so there's so many words that they're two of the same word, and but they're different. So I want to know which one's like the funnier word to you.
Okay.
So, what do you think?
Jacket or coat?
Ooh, yeah. What do you think is funnier?
Coat is funnier because you don't jacket someone and come.
Stupid.
At least I don't.
I was like,
Yeah.
that's it. I can't even. There's nothing that we need to even have from that. That's it. Well,
That is fun.
what are we at, Isaac?
102.
102. Awesome. I had so much fun, and I love getting to talk with you because I think you I there's so much that I love learning from you about, and I just I think we're people who we respect each other's processes and careers, and I'm just so glad that you came on to do the pod, and yeah, I'm such a big fan of you as a person, but everything that you get to enlighten us with. So
I just want to say, I mean, even more. I mean, yeah, to that point, you feel like at this point it feels like we're cousins or family or something because we've known each other for years.
Yeah.
We always see each other at events or parties or we're always just and it is cool every now and then seeing you and checking in and Mel and just catching up with just where are you right now? Oh, how are things going with you? It's as the years go on, I find that I'm much more valuing the friendships I have in this industry because we're all fighting a very similar fight every morning, and there's not a lot of people that I can relate to who go through this on a daily basis. So it is honestly like so cool knowing you, especially for this long.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, and I look up to you a lot, and I have a lot of respect for what you do. I mean, especially after going on tour, I would tell my assistant like, there are people who do this all year, and like I don't know how. You are the only one I know really who does as much, and I have nothing but respect for how much you work. Seriously.
thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Awesome. Anything else? We're good.
Want to plug some socials?
Yeah, we can plug socials. Yeah, please follow Brandon. It's at Brandon Board on Instagram. Are you the same on TikTok and
I
everything?
think just if you just type in Brandon Rogers in
Yeah.
whatever search hole you prefer, whatever platform shows up for you, that's the one. I guess I don't know.
Whatever search hole. Go find Brandon Rogers on any search hole out there.
Have you ever had a dream that you had to do so much you could do anything?